Welcome to an introduction to plans reading presented by Project Solutions, Inc. During this training, we will focus on the basics of South Dakota plans, how to read them, and where to find pertinent information. The main topics that will be discussed are where to find South Dakota DOT plans to bid on, understanding the cover sheet and its importance, where to find abbreviations and notes, To find South Dakota DOT projects to bid on, go to dot.sd.gov. Once you navigate here, select the Bid Letting Contractors link. That link will take you to this page. Next, select SDEBS Lettings. That link takes you to this page. Here you will find information for the anticipated bidding schedule, lettings currently advertised for bids, status of lettings post-bid opening, results of completed lettings, and future bid opening dates. Select lettings currently advertised for bids to see all bids presently advertised. This page gives you the links to the advertisements of highway bid letting, SDEBS login, contract information for each project, and plans sheets for each project. To see the plan holder list for a specific job, select Plan Holder List under that job. This will show you all the contact information for primes that may bid on that project. If there is an X in the DBE column, that means they are a DBE certified contractor in South Dakota. If you plan to bid on the project, this list shows you who to send your quote to. If you wish to list your firm as a plan holder, you must log in to SDEBS to do so. To find bid items and DBE goals for each project, select Advertisement of Highway Bid Letting. At the top of each bid items sheet, you will see DBE goal and a number beside it. We'll use this project as an example. There is a DBE goal of 2%. At a minimum, 2% of the contracted amount of work must be performed by a DBE certified business in the state of South Dakota. If the prime contractor bidding on the project meets the goal, they will be higher up on the list of apparent low bidders, even if they are not the lowest bidder. On the same bid letting detail page from before, you can find the special provisions. This contains the special provisions as well as the proposal for the project. You can also find the DBE special provision on this page. This goes over bidding requirements, good faith efforts, what qualifies as DBE participation, payments to DBEs, and much more. This is something all DBEs and contractors should read prior to bidding. The proposal will also have the required labor rates from the U.S. Department of Labor for the area. Make sure you take the cost of prevailing wage labor into consideration prior to bidding on the project. Back on the bid letting detail page, you can find the plans provided. You can also select the desired PDF and view it. Here is an example of a typical cover sheet for the South Dakota Department of Transportation. This page was designed and set up so you as a contractor can quickly and easily get necessary information about the project. We can examine the various parts of this cover page to see how much information we can gather from this page alone. The job description is located in the top middle of the sheet. You can see that it has a job number that is associated with the project. It lists who the project is for, and in this case, the South Dakota DOT. Below is a brief description of what the job will be. Here, there will be a concrete resurfacing and pipe repair on Highway 47 in McPherson County. In addition to the name and job number, we are given a location description. The last bit of information is a description of the type of work being requested. On the top right-hand side of the page, you will find the title block. This block is on every page of the plan section pages. It allows for an individual to look at any sheet and know what project it is for. Looking from the left to the right, we see that this project is in the state of South Dakota. The project number that can be used to find the project is listed next, and perhaps the most important thing is the section and sheet numbers. These numbers allow for quick reference to the table of contents. As you start working with many plans, you will find that the layouts are the same from one project to another. This also shows who plotted it and when, and if there is a revision. Below the title block, you will find the index of sections. This tells you where to find things like the traffic control plans and estimate of quantities in the set of plans. The cover sheet provides two different maps. The first map, shown in the blue outline, is a state map showing all the counties in the state. Notice all the counties are white except for one. In this case, McPherson County is colored blue, indicating that this is the county the project will take place in. The second map in the center of the page is a more detailed map in which township lines can be seen along with major roads, railroads, and cities. The purpose of this map is to give an overview of the location in reference to the county in the state. Now, remember all the information we have gathered from just the cover sheet. We now know the job number, project number, approval engineer, design data, map locations, township location, and project description, all before turning the first page. You will also find the estimate of quantities and environmental commitments on one of the first sheets after the cover page. This section shows the engineer's estimate of items like manhole removal, 18-inch pipe to install, etc. The bottom right-hand side of the page also shows what standards have been adopted by the SDDOT and what will be expected for this entire project. After the cover sheet is the table of contents. This section allows us to quickly find information and its location in the plans. Don't underestimate the importance of this sheet, as it can save you time in two ways. First, you can reference the location of any document you may want to see. Second, we can see what documents are included in the plan by the list in the table of contents. If it is not listed or a page is missing, then you know to contact the project handler for clarification. Abbreviations are used in an effort to keep plans neat and organized. Abbreviations reduce the amount of clutter on any plan sheet and allows for a clearer, more precise drawing to be made. For example, instead of having to write in cattle guard on a plan sheet, it can be referenced with an abbreviation, shown here next to the green arrow as CGD, indicating cattle guard. Using 3 letters instead of having 2 words spelled out, perhaps multiple times, helps to keep plans clean. Finally, notice the number in the upper right-hand corner. This is the page number used to reference this sheet. The legend sheet can be very useful to keep in your back pocket. This shows what each line defines, so you should make sure you bookmark this page. In another section of the plans, you will find the notes about the project. Notes provide additional information about what is expected on a project. Let us take a look at note labeled 105 to 110, pavement sweeping. It states that pavements are to be swept before being reopened to the public and that all sweeping on new construction must be completed 24 hours prior to final inspection. It is important to refer to these notes to know the expectations and to make sure you are bidding correctly for these expectations. In the construction industry, you will find several units of measurement. Most common is the U.S. customary system, aka English or Standard. It uses inches, feet, yards, miles, and acres for most measurements. There are 12 inches in a foot, 3 feet in a yard, 5,280 feet in a mile, and 43,560 square feet in an acre. Surveyors use a different version of English that omits the inch and instead uses tenths and 1/100ths of a foot. There are 10 tenths and 100 1/100ths in a foot. Therefore, 1½ feet equals 1 foot 6 inches, and 1.5125 equals 1 foot 6 1/8 inches. These types of units are most commonly found on civil drawings, like road and water projects. Occasionally, the metric units may be used. 1 meter is the equivalent of 1.09361 yards. Be aware of the units in use on the project you are bidding on. Understand scales and how they are being used. There are 2 different types of scale to be aware of: architectural and engineer scales. Construction drawings will indicate the scale on the same sheet as the drawing that you are looking at. Architectural scales are normally based on fractions of an inch, so 1/16, 1/8, 3/16, 1/4, etc. Mechanical engineers normally use the same type of scale. Engineer scales use inch decimal units rather than units based on fractions of an inch. The scales will read, as an example, 1 to 10, which translates to 1/10 of an inch equals 1 foot. You will find scales of 10, 20, 30, 50, and 60 parts per inch. Know the scale that you are using when doing takeoffs from plan sheets. As an example, in an architectural or mechanical drawing, a 1/4 inch scale indicates that every 1/4 inch is the equivalent of 1 foot. A good set of 6-sided architectural and engineer scale rules will have most of the standard scales on them for manual takeoff. Also, make sure your plans, if printed, are printed in the correct size or your scale will not be accurate. Measuring distance can also be a little tricky. The South Dakota DOT uses a system of measurement called stationing, abbreviated by STA. It is used to measure distance where one station equals 100 feet. Surveyors read distance in a decimal point system where a distance is less than a foot. A typical station reading will have numbers followed by a plus symbol with more numbers. The numbers following the plus symbol will always be less than 100. Here's why. The number before the plus are complete stations. Numbers after the plus symbol are increments of a station, so those numbers are out of 100 feet. Finally, any number following the increments will be a decimal of a foot. Let's look at example 1. We are given a station 23 plus 47. What this tells us is that the distances have 23 complete stations and 47 feet of a station. So, with 23 complete stations, we have 23 100 feet. In addition to the 2,300 feet, we also have 47 feet of a station. So, a station of 23 plus 47 is a distance of 2,347 feet. Take 15 seconds and see if you can solve example 2 on your own. Remember, surveyors use a decimal point system and not fractions, so 0.25 will be 3 inches. Did you come up with 12,512.5 feet? If so, excellent job. Let's take a look at this next example. Here, we have a horizontal line called the center line. Each tick mark represents one station and is labeled every 5 stations. Station labeling doesn't have to lie on a whole station. In this example, the stations have 51 feet 3 inches attached to each label as seen by the plus 51.25. If we stood the center line up, then we would get a left and right side of the center line. We can use this to help describe a point. Let's take this first point. It is above the center line, which means it is to the left of the center line. If we count the ticks, we see we are further than 1 tick from station 130 plus 51.25 and not quite 2 ticks away. We are told this point is at station 132 plus 05.75 on the center line. The LT60 means that it is 60 feet left from the center line. Looking at the other point, we see it is right of the center line, about half the distance away. So I would expect it to be 30 feet away, and as stated by the RT30, it is half the distance from the center line as the other point. This next slide was taken from the same plans we have been reviewing so far. Looking at the pavement, it begins at station 8 plus 50, 30 LT, and ends at station 11 plus 41, 13 LT. This tells us to begin and continue to eliminate pavement marking for 291 feet starting at station 8 plus 50. This is an example of a highway project. We can see that the stations also have a RP next to them. This is called a reference point and in many cases is referring to a mile marker. There are several views the plans will display when providing data maps. These types of views are profile, plan, and section view. Plan view shows us the project from a bird's eye. This view will show a lot of the project and details about surrounding areas. Below the plan view is a profile view. This is like looking at a truck from the length side. This view gives you the contour of the land as it travels across the project. Finally, we have the section views. This view is a cross-cut and would be like looking at the rear end of the truck. Here we can see the slopes of the road and of the land at different stations. It is not uncommon to have multiple section views at each different stations so we can get a sense of the overall plan. The last section of this video is on safety signage. Safety signs can be found around work zones all over South Dakota. A work zone is any area in which normal traffic flow becomes intermingled with a person doing their job. Safety in its signage is very important and has its own section in every South Dakota plan set. Information concerning safety signs can be found in 4 places. There is a manual on uniform traffic control devices which is available through the United States Federal Highway Administration. South Dakota DOT standard drawings and plan sheet provide more project-specific information. Traffic control requirements for South Dakota DOT operations on highway and street can be found online, and there is a South Dakota flagging handbook related to road flaggers. Information about safety and flagger training can be found online through the SDDOT website. You can find the approved and required signage layout for your project starting in the F section of South Dakota plans. The manuals and handbooks that are available describe everything from the distances signs need to be apart to the type of lettering and coloring they have to display. Here is an example from the plans sheet that describes the types of perforated tube supports. You can see that this sheet explains sizes, shapes, colors, and types of safety signs. It is important that not only the correct sign be used, but that the correct use of the sign is employed. Contract plans describe in detail the work involved and the process. Along with the plans, the bidder's proposal gives the contractor the necessary information to submit a bid for the project. After the bidding process has established a low bidder, a contract is issued. The Book of South Dakota Standard Specification for Road and Bridge Construction sets forth the directions, provisions, and requirements that apply to all contractors on all projects. The specifications include legal requirements for bidding and work performance, construction requirements, specifications for materials and material testing criteria, and method of measurement and basis of payment. When it is necessary to change standard specifications, supplemental specifications are written and included in the contract documents. They remain in effect until a new standard specification book is issued, usually every 5 to 6 years. When unusual conditions are found during the design process of special material or equipment is needed, special provisions are written to apply to that project only. These provisions supersede both standard specifications and supplemental specifications if there is a conflict in meaning. The standard specifications, supplemental specifications, plans, special provisions, and all supplementary documents are essential parts of the contract and a requirement. Where there are discrepancies between contract plans and the various sources of specifications, special provisions are the highest level of authority. Contract plans are the next highest authority, followed in order by supplemental specifications, and the lowest of the last authority is the standard specifications. This concludes the training on Introduction to Plans reading. We covered where to find plans and plan holder lists, how to read and interpret plans, how to find pertinent information, and the contract documents. If you have any questions regarding the information presented, please contact PSI's DBE Project Manager, Carrie Bullion, at 605-737-0377 or send us an email at the address provided.